Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are now, of course, in the month of April, and given that The Mandalorian Season 3 finale is now a thing of the past and all done, and a lot of fans are now looking forward to the Ahsoka Tano series led by Jon and Dave Filoni, we have a lot of other show announcements, by the way, on the horizon that will be introduced to us by Disney at this year's D23 event that takes place this September. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, we've been talking about this whole situation with Pedro Pascal and Kathleen Kennedy and the whole fired scenario about one specific Star Wars project that Pedro was let go from. That is one project, not fired entirely over at Lucasfilm. He's still coming back from Mando Season 4 and other projects, but this one thing in particular gets even worse and becomes more of a disaster as new developments begin to brew about exactly what Kathleen Kennedy did behind closed doors for Skeleton Crew as a series. Now, given that we know that Pedro Pascal was demanding to have his helmet removed multiple times for Skeleton Crew, and on top of that, he was also about to get downgraded to becoming a voice actor by Kathleen Kennedy. There's more to the story than just that, and we will be going over every single thing, and the latest is, in my opinion, probably one of the worst decisions that anybody could possibly make just to kind of create shock value for an upcoming Star Wars show, specifically for an episode that's driven for cameo appearances such as djarin. So let's get right into this. Now, we know that Pedro Pascal is a guy that always likes to make sure that his reputation stays intact. He only specifically likes to choose well-written projects, be it comedic or, serious projects or whatever it may be. Now, with actor Pedro Pascal now finished with Season 3 and moving on to other things, Kathleen Kennedy has been busy and tied up making several changes to some of the upcoming projects for the franchise. Just recently, Pascal was fired from one of the upcoming projects that were being led by Kennedy. As it turns out, behind the scenes, there were other factors that went into Pedro's firing from Skeleton Crew by Kathleen Kennedy, starring Jude Law as well. Not only was Kathy trying to downgrade him to a voice actor and had creative issues with his request to take off his helmet, but the new developments involved the fact that Kathy wanted to quite literally create a piece of theater in Skeleton Crew to kill off Din Djarin and making him presumed dead for the audience in Skeleton Crew. Kennedy's plan was to kill off Din Djarin by protecting the children and Jude Law's character, who is a Jedi, against not just pirates, but also some new type of stormtroopers that are powered through Project Necromancer, a part of Thrawn's fleet. The Necromancer-driven stormtroopers were all going to grab Din Djarin in the scene and drag him on board of a ship where that ship would eventually be destroyed by Din himself using some type of explosive, where the ship falls and explodes, much similar to what happened to Axe Wolves. Now, let me just say one thing about this, is that this is a strategy that Kathleen Kennedy was planning to make Din Djarin presumed dead, and making fans feel that he really died. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that Din was probably going to be most certainly dead in Skeleton Crew, but it seems like it was Kathleen Kennedy's attempt to kill off the character just to see what the fan reaction would be like and how fans would adapt to that. And this was just a small little kind of jab to kind of create shock value for her Skeleton Crew series. This was like the big icing on the cake of many of the other problems that Pedro had with Skeleton Crew, and exactly why he wanted to actually just kind of untarnish his, appearance in the actual series led by Kathleen Kennedy and John Watts. Now, like I said before, just to be clear, the star is actually Jude Law in Skeleton Crew. Pedro Pascal was going to be nothing more than having like 2 major cameos, and that was it, alright? And given that he was let go, not just because of arguing about this story element with Kathleen Kennedy, he was also about to be downgraded to a voice actor so that Kathy could pay him less, and he only got to shoot 20% of his cameo scenes, mind you. So whatever he shot, he had to get paid for. But the remaining, stuff is that Kathleen Kennedy wanted to strip him of acting in costume and keeping him to do voiceover work just to downgrade his pay. And I find that to be very snaky, you know, just very unprofessional, calculated, and stuff around those lines. But with the Skeleton Crew show, again, this seems like it was Kathleen Kennedy's avenue to create shock value and to just kind of do things that were going to really annoy the audience, and especially even Pedro himself, who, by the way, really cherishes this character. You guys may not agree with Pedro's views on social media, you know, or anything like that, but the man deserves to be treated right. That's how I see things. The man deserves to be treated as an actor and as a person correctly. So, Pedro certainly hated, reportedly, this approach by Kathleen Kennedy, and though Kennedy only wanted to make it that Din was presumed dead to create shock value for her show, leaving fans guessing what would happen to, of course, Djarin. This was another creative struggle by Pedro that made Kathy make her choice to get rid of him, on top of the fact that he wanted a helmetless scene for his cameo in the show. Pedro is reportedly thankful in a way that he was let go, since Kathy's vision of doing this will not be done, as Pascal knew this would anger fans and feel like a cheap shot or cheap move for shock value to the audience, and did not want to tarnish his reputation. The ship that crashed with Din on it was reportedly a new type of Imperial cruiser, a part of Thrawn's fleet. So again, they were going to make these stormtroopers powered by Necromancer, or Project Necromancer, dragging Din on board of the ship, and eventually Din quite literally just blowing it up using some kind of explosive. Now, obviously, that would have left fans scratching their heads, like, why would Kathleen Kennedy do such a cheap shot if we all know he's coming back from Mando 4? Makes no sense. You got me. Of course, she could have timed it well, where maybe Skeleton Crew takes place after Mando Season 4, for all we know, where by the time Season 4 comes out, you're gonna just keep thinking this guy's gonna eventually, supposedly, quote-unquote, perish on board of that ship. Now, that could have been her strategy, that Season 4 is going to take place before Skeleton Crew. That could very well have been her plan to kill off Din Djarin permanently. But reportedly, this was just an attempt to make Din presumed dead. Much like what they did with, Gideon in Season 3. It was kind of similar to that, where you're not quite sure if the man's really dead just yet, right? You're not quite sure. You're not 100%. So that's what she wanted to do with Din, essentially, in Skeleton Crew. And I would not be surprised if she purposely based this show after Season 4. This way, fans really could not guess exactly what happens to him. So, anyways, this just makes the situation whole worse and kind of completes the entirety of the story about what was going on behind closed doors between Pedro and Kathy. It was a mixture of this, him wanting to have no helmet in certain shots that Kathleen Kennedy was refusing, downgrading him to becoming a voice actor and reducing his pay. And it's just unfortunate that this is Kathleen Kennedy's nature. It's all about creating issues and not treating her, cast and crew correctly and right. And that's just how she's always been for quite a long time now, especially ever since she took over Lucasfilm. So, anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night